It stands as the last wonder of the ancient world, a monument so perfect, so colossal, that legends were woven around it. It was said to be built by giants, or visitors from the stars, or by the crushing might of 1,000,000 slaves. But the truth is far more human and far more impressive. To truly know that truth, you must live it. So come, travel back 4,500 years. You are not a slave. You are an Egyptian. And this is the greatest work of your life. The sun rises over the Nile, painting the river gold. You wake to the sound of your mother grinding grain in the courtyard, the rhythmic scrape of stone against stone, as familiar as your own heartbeat. Your name is Meni, and you are 23 years old. Your hands already bear the calluses of your tread. You are a stonemason, like your father before you, and his father before him. You rise from your reed mat, the packed earth floor cooled beneath your feet, despite the growing heat of the day. Through the small window of your mud brick home, you can see the great river, swollen with the annual flood. The fields lie beneath its nurturing waters, and this is the season when farmers become builders, when the rhythm of Egyptian life shifts from cultivation to construction. Your younger sister, Nebit, already sits in the doorway, working flax into thread. She glances up at you with knowing eyes. The dreams again. You've been having them for weeks, now dreams of white stone reaching toward the sky, dreams of something monumental, calling to you. You don't answer, but she sees it in your face. Everyone in the village has heard the rumors. The new pharaoh Khufume, he lived forever, has decreed the construction of something unprecedented. Not just another pyramid, but the pyramid, a monument to surpass all monuments, a bridge between earth and sky that will stand until the end of time itself. Your father, Amenhotep, enters from the workshop attached to your home. Stone dust clings to his kilt, and his arms bear the strength of 30 years working limestone and granite. Come, Meni, he says, his voice carrying the authority of a master craftsman. The statue for the temple must be finished today. You follow him into the workshop, where a half-completed statue of Thoth awaits. The god of wisdom stares back at you with eyes you carved yourself, eyes that seem to hold secrets of the ages. Your father watches as you take up your copper chisel and wooden mallet. The first strike rings out, precise and true. The limestone surrenders to your skill, each chip falling away exactly as you intend. You have the gift, your father says quietly, running his weathered hand along the smooth curve of Thoth's arm that you shaped yesterday. Not just the strength, but the sight. You see the god within the stone before you free him. This is no small praise from a man who speaks sparingly. You've spent years learning to read the grain of stone, to feel its weakness and strength, to know where it will yield and where it will resist. You've learned that limestone speaks one language, granite another, and sandstone yet another still. Each has its own song, its own rhythm. Your mother, Sataman, brings bread and beer for the morning meal. The bread is still warm from the oven, and the beer is thick and nutritious, nothing like the thin drink that will be called beer in distant centuries. She watches you both work as she sets down the food. Eat, she commands. A craftsman without strength is like a boat without wind. As you break bread with your family, your Uncle Kenti arrives, his face flushed with excitement. They're coming, he announces. The royal, and they're less than an hour's journey from here. The workshop falls silent. Your father sets down his tools slowly, deliberately. Your mother's hands pause in their constant motion. Even little Nebet stops her spinning. So it's true then, your father says. It's not a question. The Peramen, Kenti confirms. They seek workers, skilled workers. The proclamation says the pharaoh calls upon the strength and devotion of Egypt itself. You feel something shift in your chest, like a door opening to a room you didn't know existed. The dreams suddenly make sense. This is what has been calling to you. Your father sees it in your eyes before you speak. You mean to go, he says. If they will have me, you reply. Your mother's face tightens, but she says nothing. She knows, as all Egyptian mothers know, that when the pharaoh calls, Egypt answers. This is not slavery, this is duty, honor, and something more. This is a chance to touch eternity. The entire village gathers in the central square. The royal envoy stands upon a raised platform. His fine linen kilt is stark contrast to the rougher cloth of the villagers. Yet there is no contempt in his bearing. He looks upon the assembled crowd with respect, for he knows he stands before the true strength of Egypt, its craftsmen, its farmers, its builders. Behind him, scribes hold papyrus scrolls, and soldiers stand at attention not to intimidate, but to emphasize the importance of this moment. The envoy raises his arms, and silence falls like a curtain. People of Deir el-Madina, he calls out, his voice carrying across the square. I bring word from the good god Khufu. May he live forever. The great house has decreed the construction of his eternal dwelling place, a pyramid that shall touch the very belly of Nut herself, the sky goddess who swallows the sun each evening and bursts at each dawn. A murmur runs through the crowd. You stand with your family, feeling Nebet's small hand slip into yours. This is not a command of forced servitude. The envoy continues. And you notice how he emphasizes these words. The pharaoh calls upon the skilled hands and willing hearts of his people. Those who answer this call shall be well. You will receive daily rations of bread, beer, onions, and garlic, meat and fish on festival days. Your families will receive a portion of grain in your absence, and those who distinguish themselves in this sacred work shall receive land grants upon the pyramid's completion. The crowd stirs with interest. Now, these are not the terms offered to slaves, but to valued workers. We seek stonemasons and quarry workers, the envoy announces, his eyes scanning the crowd. We seek those who know the songs of copper and bronze, who can read the will of limestone and granite. We seek engineers who understand the sacred mathematics, carpenters who can shape Lebanon's mighty cedars, and physicians to tend to the workers' health. Your father steps forward. And what of the danger? He asks, his voice carrying the weight of paternal concern. What provisions for those who are injured in service to the pharaoh? The envoy nods respectfully. The pharaoh has decreed that a village shall be built at Giza for the workers, with physicians and healing priests in residence. Those injured in the sacred work shall receive care. Those who die may the gods prevented shall be buried with honor in the shadow of the pyramid itself, their names recorded for eternity. A collective gasp runs through the crowd. To be buried near the pharaoh's pyramid, this is an honor beyond imagining. This is the promise of an afterlife, blessed by proximity to divinity itself. The work begins with the end of the inundation. The envoy continues. Those who wish to serve should present themselves to the scribes. Your skills will be assessed, your names recorded. In 7 days, boats will arrive to carry the chosen workers north to Giza. The formal proclamation ends, and the crowd disperses into excited clusters. Families debate, young men boast of their strength, and the village elders share memories of their own youth when they helped to build monuments. Now ancient, you approach the scribe's table with your father. The chief scribe, an elderly man with intelligent eyes, looks you over. Your name and trade. I am Meni, son of Amenhotep. I am a stonemason. Your age, 23 floods of the Nile. The scribe makes notations on his book. Can you read the sacred measurements? Your father speaks for you. He can read numbers and perform calculations. I have taught him the sacred proportions. Show me your hands, the scribe commands. You extend your hands, palms up. The scribe examines the calluses, the small scars from years of chip strikes, the strength in your fingers. He nods approvingly. These are the hands of a true craftsman, not a field worker claiming false skill. You understand that this work will be harder than anything you have known. The stones of the pyramid will dwarf even the largest blocks you have moved in your village. I understand, you reply, though in truth, you cannot yet imagine the scale of what awaits you. Very well. Report to the river landing at dawn 7 days hence. Bring your tools if you have them, they will be marked with your name. The journey to Giza will take 4 days, by boat. He hands you a small clay token marked with hieroglyphs. This is your worker's seal. Guard it well. As you walk home, the token feels warm in your hand, as if it carries the heat of the destiny it represents. Your mother has tears in her eyes when you show it to her, but they are tears of pride as much as sorrow. My son will build the eternal dwelling of a god, she whispers, touching the token reverently. That night, your family hosts a feast with what provisions they can spare. Uncle Kenti brings a goose, a luxury reserved for special occasions. Your aunt contributes state wine. The entire extended family gathers, and stories are told of ancestors who worked on the pyramids of Sneferu, Khufu's father. Your grandfather, ancient and bent but still sharp of mind, takes your face in his papyrus-thin hands. You carry the Kea of our family with you, he says. Build well, grandson. Build for all of us. The morning of departure arrives with a mist rising from the Nile. You stand at the river's edge with nearly 40 other men from your village and surrounding settlements. Some, like you, are young and eager. Others are master craftsmen in their prime, seeking the prestige and rewards of royal service. A few are older men, perhaps taking one last great commission before age claims their strength. Your family stands behind you. Your mother presses a small amulet into your hand, a Jed PR symbol of Osiris's spine, representing stability and endurance. May Osiris protect you, she murmurs. Your father grips your shoulder, saying nothing, but his eyes speak volumes. Nebet throws her arms around your waist, and you have to gently pry her away. The boats arrive as the sun burns away the mist. They are not slave galleys with chains and whips, but well-appointed transport vessels with canopies for shade and space for men to move about. The boatmaster, a sun-weathered man named Kemwaset, greets each worker by name as they board. "Welcome, Rus," he calls out. "You sail now not as subjects, but as the chosen hands of Egypt. The gods themselves watch our journey." You find a spot near the prow, your tool bag beside you. Inside are your personal chisels, inherited from your father, their handles worn smooth by generations of hands. A young man sits beside you, nervous energy radiating from him like heat from sun-baked stone. "I'm Thutmose," he says, "from the village of Sawat. I work in the quarries there." "Meni," you reply, "stonemason, from Deir el-Medina." As the boat pushes off from the shore, you turn for one last look at your family. They stand there, growing smaller, your mother's white dress visible long after other details fade. Then a bend in the river takes them from view, and your old life officially ends. The journey north is a revelation. You have never traveled more than a day's walk from your village, and now the entire heart of Egypt unfolds before you. You pass temples that scrape the sky, their pillars painted in blues and golds that hurt to look upon in the direct sun. You see cities with populations that dwarf your entire district, their docks bustling with trade from lands you've only heard mentioned in stories. The boat stops each evening at designated waypoints. The crew prepares generous meals apparently. The good treatment begins immediately. You eat better on this journey than you often did at home. Fresh bread, beer, dried fish, onions, and garlic. On the second night, there's even beef, a meat you've tasted perhaps 3 times in your life. An older craftsman named Aminimheb, whose arms bear the scars of decades, work in stone, sits with your group during meals. He has worked on royal projects before, though none of this scale. "Let me tell you a truth, young ones," he says, his voice carrying the authority of experience. "What we go to build is beyond comprehension. I helped complete the Red Pyramid for the pharaoh's father. I thought then I had seen the limits of human ambition, but the plans for Khufu's pyramid ... He shakes his head. "They say it will reach 480 feet into the sky. Do you understand? Taller than 40 houses stacked upon each other." Thutmose laughs nervously. "Surely you exaggerate, uncle." Amenemheb's eyes remain serious. "If anything, I understate. But here's what you must understand. We do not go as slaves to die beneath the lash. We go as the select of Egypt. Every stone we place is a prayer. Every cut we make is an offering. We are not building a tomb. We are building a machine of eternal life for the god. Through him, all of Egypt achieves immortality. On the third night, you cannot sleep. You stand at the boat's edge, watching the stars reflected in the Nile's black water. The river here is wider than you've ever seen it, mighty and eternal. Another worker, a carpenter named Senefor, joins you. "Nervous?" he asks. "Excited," you reply, "though it's both. My grandfather told me that to work on a pyramid is to have your your life force, joined forever with the pharaohs. That our spirits will help pull his solar bark through the underworld each night." Senefer nods. "My father said similar. He said that slaves build nothing that lasts, because they have no love for their work. But we ... we build with our hearts as much as our hands. That's why the pyramids are eternal." On the 4th day, as the sun reaches its zenith, someone shouts from the prow, "There, Giza!" You rush forward with the others, and your breath catches in your throat. Nothing, no story, no dream, no imagination could have prepared you for this moment. The Giza plateau rises from the desert like a mountain carved by the gods themselves. But it is not the natural limestone outcrop that steals your breath. It is what humans have begun to create upon it. The foundation of the pyramid spreads across the plateau like a geometric lake of white limestone, so vast that its far edges blur in the desert haze. The precision of it hurts your mind. Perfect right angles, stretching for nearly 1,000 feet on each side. Already, the first courses of stone are in place, and even these lower levels dwarf anything you've seen. But it's the activity that truly overwhelms. Thousands upon thousands of men move across the plateau like ants upon a hill. But these ants are organized into a divine machinery of purpose. Ramps of mud, brick, and rubble spiral up from the desert floor. Teams of men haul sledges bearing stone blocks that must weigh as much as your entire house. The sound reaches you across the water, rhythmic chanting, the ring of tools on stone, the creak of rope and wood, all blending into a symphony of creation. Gods of Egypt, Thutmose, breathes beside you. His face has gone pale. Now you understand, Amenemheb says quietly. We do not go to build a pyramid. We go to build the pyramid, the one that will stand when all others have returned to sand. As your boat approaches the harbor, you see that an entire city has sprouted in the pyramid's shadow. Not a ramshackle camp of tents and misery, but a planned settlement with straight streets and solid buildings. Smoke rises from what must be massive kitchens. The smell of baking bread reaches you, even here on the water. The docking area bustles with organized efficiency. Scribes with their papyrus and reed pens record every arrival. Overseers not with whips, but with measuring rods and building plans direct new arrivals to different areas. You see no chains, no guards with spears forcing men to work. Instead, you see purpose, organization, and something that looks remarkably like pride on the faces of the workers. A tall overseer with kind eyes approaches your group as you disembark. Welcome, brothers. I am Hemunu, chief of chiefs, architect of the eternal dwelling. Your group gasps. This is the pharaoh's own nephew, the master architect himself. Yet he greets you as brothers, not as slaves. You arrive at a glorious time, he continues. We have completed the foundation and the underground chambers. Now begins the true work, raising the pyramid to pierce the sky itself. Each of you will be assigned to a phyle, a work gang. You will live with your phyle, eat with your phyle, and together you will move mountains. He gestures toward the workers' village. Come, let me show you your new home. I think you will find it exceeds your expectations. The walk to the workers' village takes you past the main construction site. Up close, the massive limestone blocks are even more imposing. Each one is taller than you are, and you watch in amazement as a team of 30 men manages to slide one along a wooden track. Water bearers wetting the sand before the sledge to reduce friction. How? You ask aloud, unable to comprehend the feat. Hemunu smiles. Knowledge passed down from the ancients, improved with each generation. You will learn, young stonemason. You will learn things that will make you valuable for the rest of your life. The workers, village height El Garab, the wall of the crow, is a revelation. The main gate stands 20 feet high, solid limestone posts supporting massive wooden doors. Guards are posted, but Hemunu explains they are there to protect the workers and supplies from desert raiders, not to keep workers in. No one is held here against their will, he states clearly. Any man who wishes to leave may do so, but few do. You'll understand why. Inside, the village astounds you. Paved streets run in a grid pattern. Mud brick buildings, properly plastered and whitewashed, stand in neat rows. There are separate quarters for different types of workers, one area for masons, another for carpenters, another for copper workers. The sleeping quarters are long galleries with raised platforms for sleeping, keeping you off the ground and away from scorpions and snakes. Each man has a space for his possessions, and red mats are provided for comfort. Windows allow for air circulation, crucial in the desert heat. For men to a room, Hemunu explains. You'll be grouped with your phyle brothers. You work together, live together, become family. But it's the support facilities that truly amaze you. The bakery complex is massive, dozens of ovens arranged in rows, with bakers already at work. The smell of fresh bread is constant, comforting. Hemunu shows you the brewery next door, where beer, that staple of Egyptian deities, produced in quantities that boggle your mind. Each worker receives a daily ration, he explains, leading you to a distribution area where supplies are being handed out. 10 loaves of bread and 2 jugs of beer, without fail. On every 10th day, a feast day, you receive meat, beef, fish, or fowl along with vegetables and fruit. No man who builds the eternal dwelling of the pharaoh goes hungry. A worker passing by overhears and laughs good-naturedly. He understates it, brothers. The food here is better than what I ate in my village. My wife won't recognize me when I return. I'll be fat as a nobleman. The medical facilities make you stop and wonder. A proper building with multiple rooms, where physician priests tend to injured workers. You see a man having a cut on his arm cleaned and bandaged with honey and linen. Another lies on a bed, while a physician carefully sets what appears to be a broken bone. Every injury is treated, Hemunu says, with pride. The pharaoh knows that a healthy worker is a productive worker. But more than that, you are not slaves to be used and discarded. You are Yepis, building for Egypt. An elderly physician named Amonhotepe. We treat everything from cuts and breaks to scorpion stings and heat exhaustion. We have medicines from across the kingdom. I have personally saved over 100 lives in my 3 years here. And those who don't survive, you ask hesitantly. Heminu's face grows sullen. Come, I will show you something that will answer all your remaining doubts. He leads your group to the edge of the village, where the desert begins. There, spread across several acres, is a cemetery, but not a patch of unmarked graves, a proper necropolis with mud brick mastabas and carved stelae. Every worker who dies in service to the pyramid is buried here. Heminu says quietly, their names are recorded, their graves marked. They rest in the shadow of the pyramid for eternity. When the pharaoh makes his journey through the underworld each night, these faithful workers journey with him. Tell me, would slaves be granted such honor? An older worker named Kemhiset, who has been listening, steps forward. My brother died here last year, he says. A stone shifted unexpectedly. It was quick. We mourned him, but we also celebrated him. He was mummified not elaborately like a noble, but properly, with prayers and rituals. His tomb, he points to a well-mud mastaba, is there. I visit him each rest day. His children will know where their father lies. His name will be remembered. What slave can say the same? As the sun sets on your first day at Giza, you sit with your newly assigned Phili brothers in the common area. Your team is called the Friends of Khufu, a name that fills you with pride. There are 20 of you in total, mostly masons and stone movers, led by a genial foreman named Maruka, who has been here since the foundation was laid. Tomorrow, you begin to understand what we truly do here, Maruka says, passing around a jug of beer. It will be the hardest work of your life, but also the most meaningful. We are not just stacking stones, brothers. We are building a ladder to the heavens. We are creating something that will outlast the very hills. That night, you lie on your reed mat, listening to the desert wind and the distant sound of night shift workers. The amulet your mother gave you rests against your chest. You think of your family, already missing them, but you also feel something new, a sense of being part of something infinitely larger than yourself. You are not a slave. You are a pyramid builder, and tomorrow, the real work begins. The sound that wakes you will become as familiar as your own harbita dumbbell, rung by the timekeeper, echoing across the workers' village. It's still dark, the stars visible through your window, but already the village stirs to life. You've been here a week now, long enough for the routine to feel less foreign but not yet natural. You rise from your mat, your muscles protesting. The first days were agony muscles you didn't know existed screamed with each movement. But Maruka, your foreman, assured you this was normal. The pyramid makes you stronger, he said, or it breaks you. But you, young Meni, you will not break. I see it in your eyes. Your Phili brothers rise around you. There's Thutmose, who came on the boat with you, already becoming a close friend. Beside him, Senbi, a quarryman from the south, with arms like tree trunks, and a laugh that shakes the walls. And Ipuki Belieti, whose skill with numbers has made him invaluable for calculating angles and loads. You dress quickly in your work kilt, tie the leather protector around your waist, a gift from a senior mason who said it would save your skin from the worst of the rope. Burns and grab your tools. Your personal chisels are wrapped in leather, carefully maintained. In this place, your tools are extensions of your ka, your life force. The breakfast hall buzzes with hundreds of conversations. You file through the serving area, receiving your morning ration, fresh bread still warm from the ovens, a portion of preserved fish, onions, and the ever-present beer. Not the weak beer of later ages, but a thick, nutritious drink that serves as both food and refreshment. You sit with your Phili, and Maruka goes over the day's work. We're moving blocks for the 4th course today, he announces. The blocks from Tura arrived yesterday, fine white limestone for the outer casing. Each weighs about 2.5 tons. Senbi whistles low. The ones we moved yesterday were heavy enough. Those were core blocks, Maruka explains patiently. Rough limestone from the local quarry. These casing stones must be perfect smooth as water, fitted so precisely that a knife blade cannot slip between them. This is where our masons, he nods to you and to others, prove their worth. As you walk to the construction site, the sun rises, painting the pyramid in shades of gold and pink. Even incomplete, it dominates the landscape. The first 3 courses are complete, each slightly smaller than the last, creating the beginning of the pyramid slope. Ramps of mud brick and limestone chips spiral up from multiple directions, allowing access to the working platform. Your Phili section is on the north face. Already, crews are at work on all sides. The sound is overwhelming. At first, thousands of men shouting, singing, coordinating their efforts. Sledges scrape against wood and stone. Foremen call out rhythms, Water-bearers chant as they run their routes. Your first task is to help position a casing stone. The rough block has already been hauled up. The ramp that was yesterday's brutal work. Now it must be precisely carved and positioned. This is where your skills matter. You run your hands over the stone, feeling its grain, understanding its nature. This limestone from Tura is different from what you worked in your village finer. Wider, almost luminous. You mark the cutting lines with red ochre, checking and rechecking the measurements. The margin for error is the width of a hair. Ready? Asked Snacked, the senior mason overseeing your work. You nod and begin. The copper chisel rings against the stone, each strike deliberate and precise. Chips fly, but never too large that would indicate a lack of control. You work steadily, sweat already beading despite the morning cool. Beside you, another mason works the adjacent edge. Your strikes must complement each other, creating perfectly flat surfaces that will meet seamlessly. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher. Your arms at you, but you don't stop. This is the meditation of masonry, the zone where time ceases to exist. There is only you, the tool, and the stone. You're dimly aware of the water-bearer passing, and you drink without really stopping work, the motion automatic. Hold! Nacht calls. You step back, and he examines your work with a straight edge and a critical eye. A long moment passes. Then he nods. Good. Very good. You have the touch, young one. Now comes the truly dangerous part, positioning the stone. Your entire file works together for this. Wooden levers are placed at strategic points. Ropes are attached. Maruka takes command, his voice cutting through the ambient noise. On my count. 1. 2. Pull. 20 men pull as one. The stone shifts slightly. Again. 1. 2. Pull. Inch by inch, the massive block moves into position. You and the other masons check alignment constantly. Too far and it must be pulled back. Back-breaking work. But Maruka is experienced, and the stone slides into place with barely a finger's width to spare. Now, for the finest work. You and your fellow mason must dress the exposed face and the joints, ensuring perfect alignment with the neighboring stones. You work with bronze tools now, harder than copper, saved for the finishing work. The sound change is a higher, cleaner ring. A shadow falls over you. You look up to see Hemino himself, the master architect, observing your work. Your hand trembles slightly, but you continue. He watches for several minutes, then speaks. What is your name, craftsman? Meni, Lord, from Diyara Medina. You have been well taught, Meni. This joint, he runs his finger along the seam between stones, is excellent. In 1,000 years, it will still be perfect. He turns to Maruka. Mark this one for advanced training. We need such precision for the burial chamber. Your Fili brother slap your back in celebration as Heminu moves on. To be noticed by the master architect, this is an honor that will follow you home. 3 months have passed. Your body has transformed muscle, replacing what little fat you carried, your hands now capable of wielding hammer and chisel for hours without cramping. You've been selected for specialized training, and today, you journey to the Tura quarries across the river to learn the art of extracting the fine limestone used for the pyramid's outer casing. The quarries are a world unto themselves. Carved into the eastern cliffs, they stretch for miles, their galleries reaching deep into the earth like the roots of some impossible tree. The master quarryman, a man named Kemoset, whose family has worked these stones for 6 generations, meets your training group at the entrance. Forget what you know of stone. He begins with our preamble. Tura limestone is the flesh of the gods themselves. It must be coaxed, not conquered. Force will shatter it. Patience will free it perfectly. He leads you deep into the galleries. Oil lamps provide flickering light, casting dancing shadows on walls carved with impossible precision. The temperature drops, and the air carries the distinct smell of ancient stone, cool, mineral, somehow alive. Here Kumwasa stops at a rock face marked with red grid lines. We have identified a block for extraction. Tell me, young masons, how would you free it? One of your companions, eager to impress, speaks quickly. Cut channels around it with copper chisels, then drive wedges to split it free. Kemoset nods slowly. That would work, if you wanted to spend 3 weeks on one block and risk fracturing it. Watch and learn the old way, the right way. He demonstrates the technique that will consume your next weeks of training. First, channels are cut along the top and sides, but not with random strikes. Each chisel blow follows the stone's natural grain, working with it rather than against it. The rhythm is almost musical, a steady tap-tap-tap that echoes through the gallery. "You must listen to the stone," Kimwaset says, his weathered hand against the rock face. "It will tell you where it wants to break. The grain, the tiny fishes, invisible to the untrained eye, these are your map." Next comes a revelation that changes your understanding of the possible. Instead of metal wedges, Kimwaset produces wooden ones, dry and seemingly fragile. Would Thutmose asks, incredulously. "To split stone?" The master quarryman smiles. "Wood and water, young one, the power of none, the primordial waters from which all creation emerged." He demonstrates, driving the wooden wedges into the cut channels with precise taps. Then, water is poured over them. "Now we wait," he says. The wood swells, slowly, evenly, with more force than 100 men. By tomorrow, the stone will have surrendered. While you wait, he teaches you to read the stone's character. Tura limestone has layers, like the flooding of the Nile written in rock. Some layers are harder, some softer. A skilled quarryman can see these variations and plan cuts accordingly. "Look here," he points to what seems like uniform white stone. But as your eyes adjust, guided by his expertise, you begin to see its subtle variations in color and texture. This darker band, barely visible, it's harder. Your chizo will skate across it, unless you adjust your angle. You spend days learning to see what was always there, but hidden to untrained eyes. Your respect for these quarrymen grows exponentially. They are not mere laborers, but artists reading a language written before humans walked the earth. The next morning, Kimwaset leads you back to the demonstration block. The wooden wedges have swollen, and a clean crack runs through the stone exactly where intended. With bronze levers, the block is freed. Tons of limestone separated from the mother rock, as cleanly as if cut by the gods themselves. "Now comes the delicate part," Kimwaset announces. "The first dressing. This is where your mason skills merge with quarry knowledge. The extracted block must be roughly shaped here and the quarry excess weight removed before transport, but carefully, so as not to damage what will become the finished surface. You work with newfound confidence, your chisel singing against the stone. Each strike removes exactly what you intend, no more, no less. The block slowly transforms from a rough extraction to something approaching its final form. Good Kimwaset approves. You understand that we are not fighting the stone, we are partnering with it, revealing what it wishes to become. During your weeks at Tura, you witness the full cycle of extraction. Teams of workers, organized with military precision, extract dozens of blocks daily. Each one is marked with hieroglyphs to date, the team responsible, and its intended position in the pyramid. Nothing is left to chance. One evening, as you sit outside the quarry barracks, watching the sun set over the Nile, Kimwaset joins you. He's been doing this for 30 years, and his body shows its scars from stone chips, fingers bent from countless hammer strikes, but his eyes remain bright with purpose. "Do you know why we do this?" he asks. "Not for gold, though the pay is good. Not for glory, though our names will be remembered. We do it because we are part of something eternal. Every block we cut, every surface we smooth, is a prayer made solid." He points across the river where the pyramid rises in the distance. "Slaves build nothing beautiful because beauty requires love. Look at that monument and tell me it was built without love. You cannot." Even from Era, the pyramid seems to glow with an inner light, the setting sun turning its white casing stones to gold. It is beautiful, impossible, perfect. You return from Tura to find the plateau in unprecedented activity. A massive granite block has arrived from Aswan, destined for the king's chamber. It's one of dozens that will form the ceiling, each weighing close to 50 tons. Your entire fillet, along with 3 others, nearly 80 men, will be needed to move it. Maruka gathers everyone before dawn. "Today, brothers, we perform a feat that will be spoken of for generations. This stone traveled 800 miles down the Nile. Now we must raise it 60 feet, and position it with the precision of a jeweler setting a gem. The block sits on a reinforced wooden sledge, massive cedar logs from Lebanon forming its base. Ropes as thick as your arm are attached at multiple points. But what strikes you most is the path that has been prepared, a ramp of perfect gradient, its surface covered with wooden planking to reduce friction. The angle must be exact," explains Jedifa, the chief engineer. "Too steep and will never move it. Too shallow in the ramp would need to extend beyond the plateau itself." You take your position on one of the ropes. Sembi's beside you, his massive frame reassuring. Thutmose his 2 men ahead. Ipuki stands to the side with the water bearers, ready to wet the planks at the precise moment. A drummer begins a beat, slow and steady. This is not for entertainment but for coordination. 80 men must pull as one, or the effort fails. Ready? Maruka calls out on the beat, 1, 2, 3. Pull. The rope burns against your palms despite the leather wrappings. For a moment, nothing happens. The block seems rooted to the earth. Then, almost imperceptibly, it shifts. Again, 1, 2, 3. Pull. A groan, whether from the wood or the man, you cannot tell. The block moves perhaps a hand's breadth. Water the path. Maruka commands. Ipuki and the water bearers dash forward, pouring water on the planks just ahead of the sledge. The water reduces friction dramatically, an ancient technique that still seems like magic. 1, 2, 3. Pull. This time, the block slides forward a full foot. A cheer goes up, quickly suppressed. This is just the beginning. The work continues for hours. Pull, advance, rest. Pull, advance, rest. The drum never stops. Songs emerge spontaneously. Word chants that help coordinate effort and lift spirits. We are the arms of Khufu. We are the strength of Egypt. The stone obeys our will. The pyramid rises through our might. At the steepest part of the ramp, disaster nearly strikes. One of the ropes begins to fray. You see it happening, strands snapping under the immense tension. Stop! Someone screams. Maruka reacts instantly. Emergency braces. Now, wooden beams are thrust under the sledge, preventing it from sliding backward. The frayed rope is quickly replaced, but the incident reminds everyone of the constant danger. A 50-ton block, rolling backward, would crush a dozen men before anyone could escape. By midday, you've reached the working platform. But the challenge isn't over. The block must now be moved laterally to its position and somehow raise the final few feet to sit atop the walls already in place. This is where you witness engineering genius that will be lost to later ages. A series of levers, each one an entire tree trunk, are positioned around the block. Counterweight smaller stones are attached to the far ends. It's a multiplication of force that would make Archimedes proud, though he won't be born for 2,000 years. Lever teams. Ready? Jadafar commands. Lift on my mark. 20 men on each lever. 4 levers total. You're on the second lever, your hands gripping the smooth wood. Lift. The sensation is extraordinary. The massive granite block, which seemed immovable, rises slowly but steadily. Wooden supports are quickly inserted beneath it. The levers reset, lifted again. Inch by inch, the block rises to its final height. Now comes your moment. As one of the selected masons, you must guide the final positioning. The block must align perfectly with its neighbors, the joints so tight that they become nearly invisible. You and 3 other masons use bronze bars to make micro-adjustments, calling out measurements to the lever teams. 2 fingers left. Now back a thumb's width. Hold. The precision required is absurd. This massive block must be positioned within tolerances that even small decorative pieces in your village would unrequire. Yet somehow, through patience and skill, it's achieved. As the sun sets, the block settles into its final position with a grinding sound that seems to come from the earth itself. A perfect fit. The joints are so tight, you cannot insert a piece of papyrus between them. The celebration that night is epic. Extra rations of beer are distributed. Someone produces a drum, another a flute. Songs are sung about the day's achievement, and you realize these songs will become part of the oral history, passed down through generations of workers. 6 months have passed since your arrival. The pyramid has grown to 15 courses, and the ramps have been rebuilt and extended multiple times. You've been promoted to assistant foreman of your file, recognition of your skill and dedication. Your body has become a tool of its own, hands that can feel imperfections invisible to the eye, arms that can work stone for hours without fatigue, eyes that can judge angles and alignments instinctively. Today, you're working on something special, preparing stones for what will become the Grand Gallery, the magnificent corridor leading to the king's chamber. These aren't just structural stones, but architectural art, each one cut to precise angles that will create a corbelled ceiling of breathtaking beauty. The work requires a different mindset. You're not just building, you're creating something that will inspire awe in anyone who sees it, even thousands of years in the future. Each stone must be perfect, not just functionally, but aesthetically. The pharaoh will walk this path on his journey to the stars, reminds Amen, the master architect overseeing this section. Every surface he passes must be worthy of a god. You work with limestone so fine, it's almost translucent, bringing out a natural luster with patient polishing. The technique involves sand and water, rubbed endlessly with harder stones, until the surface becomes mirrored. Your hands cramp from the repetitive motion, but you don't stop. This is meditation, prayer, and craft combined into one action. Working beside you is a young man named Tahotep, an artist-mason, whose skill with decorative carving exceeds even yours. He is inscribing hieroglyphs that will never be seen once the pyramid is sealed. Prayers for the pharaoh is journeyed through the afterlife. Why carve what no living eye will see? You ask him during a water break. He smiles. The gods will see, the pharaoh's will see, and we will know it's there. Sometimes the invisible work is the most important. This philosophy permeates the entire project. You've seen men spend days perfecting joints that will be buried deep inside the pyramid's core. It's not about human recognition but about participating in something sacred. The danger increases as the pyramid rises. The ramps become steeper, the drops more deadly. Yesterday, a man from another phylum fell from the 8th course. He survived, but with a shattered leg that will never properly heal. The physicians did their best, and he'll be compensated, given easier work in the village. But it's a reminder of the price of immortality. Not all the challenges come from stone and gravity. As the pyramid rises, competition between the phylums intensifies. There's pride at stake, but also practical rewards. The team that moves the most blocks in a month receives extra rations and a day of rest. More importantly, they earn recognition, their names inscribed on the pyramid's foundation blocks. Your main rivals are the followers of the powerful White Crown, a phylum from the Delta region. Their foreman Nibaman is a giant of a man who claims his team can outwork any southern few. The rivalry is mostly good-natured, but there's an edge to it. Southern farmers playing at construction? Nibaman taunts one morning as your teams prepare for the day's work. In the Delta, we were building monuments when you were still learning to stack mud bricks. Maruka, ever diplomatic, Simpus, we'll let our work speak, brother. A competition develops organically. Both teams are assigned to move similar blocks from the same quarry area to the same course of the pyramid. It becomes a race, though officially no one acknowledges it. Your team develops a new technique, suggested by young Apuki. Instead of pulling the sledge directly, you use a pulley system, running the ropes through bronze rings anchored to the ramp. It multiplies your force and, more importantly, allows for better coordination. The followers notice and try to adapt their own version, but they haven't practiced with it. Their first attempt sees the rope slip from the ring, and their block slides back several feet before the emergency braces catch it. Steady wins this race. Maruka reminds your team, no injuries, no mistakes, just consistent, perfect work. For 3 days, the competition continues. Your teams are neck and neck, matching each other block for block. The entire plateau watches, even Himunu taking notice of the increased productivity. On the 4th day, disaster nearly strikes. One of Nibamun's younger workers, eager to prove himself, doesn't properly secure a rope before a pull. It snaps, free striking him across the chest and sending him tumbling. He falls 15 feet, landing hard on the stone below. All rivalry instantly vanishes. Your team rushes to help. You're among the first to reach Himaboy really, perhaps 17, gasping for breath, with blood trickling from his mouth. The physicians arrive quickly, but their faces are grave. Internal injuries, they murmur. They carry him gently to the medical house. That evening, Nibuman approaches your team's area. The swagger is gone, replaced by genuine gratitude. Your men ... They didn't hesitate to help. Dad boy, Amenemhab. He's my nephew, my sister's son. We're all brothers here, Maruka responds. The pyramid doesn't care where we're from. The boy survives, though he'll be sent home to recover. The incident bonds the two phylums. The competition continues. But now it's truly good-natured, each team cheering the other's successes. A week later, when the monthly tallies are counted, your team has moved more blocks by a margin of 3. But at the celebration, you share your extra rations with Nebaman's team. The gesture is noted by the overseers and adds to your growing reputation. It happens on an ordinary day, during ordinary work. You're helping position a casing stone, the kind of task you've done hundreds of times. The stone is on wooden rollers, being maneuvered into position. Kenti, one of the older workers in Yafili, is guiding the far corner. Then the roller cracks. It happens so fast that no one can react. The stone tilts, its massive weight shifting suddenly. Kenti tries to jump clear, but the stone catches his leg, crushing it against the platform with a sound that will haunt your dreams. His scream cuts through all other noise on the plateau. Work stops across the entire site. You and others rush to him, but the stone is too heavy, too precariously balanced. Moving it wrong could cause it to shift further, completely crushing him. Laveras Maruka shouts. Carefully, carefully. It takes agonizing minutes to free him. His leg is destroyed, bent at an impossible angle, bone visible through torn skin. He's conscious, his face gray with shock and pain. You hold his hand as the physicians arrive, feeling it grip yours with desperate strength. Will I walk? He gasps. The chief physician, examining the leg, meets his eyes honestly. No, brother, but you will live. They carry him to the medical house. You learn later that the leg had to be removed below the knee to save his life. The damage was too severe, infection certain otherwise. The physicians are skilled, using sharp bronze knives and wine to clean the wound. They save his life. But his work on the pyramid is over. 3 days later, Kenti asks to see you and Marie. He's weak, but alert, the stump of his leg wrapped in honey-soaked linen. I need to know, he says. What happens to me now? A cripple can't work stone. Will I be cast out? Sent home in shame. Maruka grips his shoulder. You gave your body in service to the eternal dwelling. You will not be abandoned. There's work in the village record-keeping, tool maintenance, teaching the young workers. You'll receive rations until you're healed, then let her work with appropriate pay. And when my time comes, Kenti asks, quietly, you'll be buried here, with full honors. As a builder of the Great Pyramid, Maruka assures him, your sacrifice is noted in the official records. This is the truth of it, you realize. The pyramid demands sacrifice, but those who give it are not discarded like broken tools. They're honored, cared for, remembered. It's the difference between slaves and citizens, between forced labor and chosen service. A month later, you see Kenti, in the village, working as a scribe's assistant, recording material deliveries. He's fashioned a crutch and moves with surprising agility. He greets you warmly, seemingly at peace with his fate. I gave my leg to build eternity, he says with a wry smile. How many men can say that? But not all endings are so fortunate. It happens during the placement of a massive granite beam for the king's chamber. The beam, weighing nearly 70 tons, is being raised by a complex system of ramps and levers. You're not directly involved, working on a different section, but you hear the commotion shouts of alarm, then a terrible crash. The beam has slipped, not far, perhaps 2 feet. But that's enough. An older mason, named Amenhotep, a master craftsman, who'd been carefully guiding the beam's placement, was caught beneath it. There was no scream. The weight was too great, the end too quick. Work stops across the entire pyramid. This isn't an injury but a death, and it must be properly observed. That evening, the entire workers' village gathers. Amenhotep's body, cleaned and wrapped in linen, lies on a platform. The Sem priest performs the rituals, the same ones performed for any Egyptian of standing. Incense burns. Prayers are chanted. His name is spoken aloud by hundreds of voices, ensuring his ka will not be forgotten. Hemunu himself speaks. Amenhotep gave his life in the most sacred work of our age. He did not die as a slave, but as a craftsman, an artist, a builder of eternity. His body will rest here, in the shadow of his greatest work, and when the pharaoh journeys to the stars, Amenhotep's ka will be among his eternal workforce, building palaces in the field of reeds. The next day you're selected as one of the workers to help prepare Amenhotep's tomb. It's in the workers' cemetery. But this is no hasty burial. You help construct a small but proper mastaba, laying mud bricks in careful courses. Other workers carve his stela with his name and titles: Amenhotep, Master Mason, Builder of the Eternal Dwelling of Khufu. The embalmers have done their work. Not the elaborate 70-day process reserved for nobility, but proper mummification nonetheless. His body is dried with natron, wrapped in linen, protected with amulets. A mask of cartonnage linen, stiffened with plaster and painted, covers his face, showing him as he was in life but perfected, eternal. You help carry his body to the tomb. The procession is impressive, hundreds of workers following, many carrying offerings. Small items, mostly bread, beer jugs, tools he used in life that will serve him in death. But the accumulated offerings fill the small tomb chamber. His widow has come from their village, her cries of grief piercing the desert air, but there's pride too in her bearing. Her husband didn't die in obscurity. He died building the greatest monument ever conceived, and he'll rest forever in its shadow. As his body is placed in the tomb, Maruka speaks quietly to your group. Look around you, young ones. See these tombs stretching across the plateau? Each one contains a free Egyptian who chose this work, who gave their strength and sometimes their lives to build eternity. Would slaves be buried thus? Would their names be carved in stone? Would their widows receive compensation, and their children be proud of their sacrifice? The Sem-priest performs the opening of the mouth ceremony, ensuring Amenhotepska can eat and drink in the afterlife. Then the tomb is sealed, but not permanently. Family members can visit, bring additional offerings, speak to the deceased. As you walk back to the village, Thutmose walks beside you, unusually quiet. Finally, he speaks. When I came here, I thought I was just earning good wages, gaining skills. But it's more than that, isn't it? You nod. We're writing ourselves into eternity. Every stone we place, every life given, becomes part of something that will outlast the mountains themselves. That night, the stories begin. Workers who knew Amenhotep share memories. His skill at redding stone grain, his patience teaching younger workers, the joke he always told about a crocodile and a tax collector. These stories will be told and retold, keeping his memory alive in the oral tradition of the workers. One of the older workers, Kemiset, speaks up. I've been here 8 years. I've seen 12 men die in that time. 12 out of thousands. Yes, it's dangerous work, but in my village, I've seen more die from crocodile attacks, from disease, from famine when the inundation fails. Here, we die with purpose. We die building something that matters. And we're remembered, adds another. My grandfather worked on Snefru's pyramid. He died when a rope snapped, fell from the 5th course. But his tomb is there still, at Dosher. My family visits it. His name is known. He's not forgotten dust, but an eternal builder. The conversation continues late into the night, lubricated by extra rations of beer, distributed to honor Amenhotep's memory. You learn that there is an informal fund among the workers. Everyone contributes a small portion of their wages. When someone dies, this fund helps pay for their mummification and tomb construction. We take care of our own, Maruka explains. The pharaoh provides. Yes, but we also provide for each other. That's what makes us builders, not slaves. We choose to be here, and we choose to support each other. 3 years have passed since you first arrived at Giza. You're no longer the uncertain, young mason from a small village. Your body has been sculpted by the work, lean, powerful, scarred from countless small injuries, but stronger than you ever imagined possible. Your hands can read stone like a scribe reads papyrus. Your eye can judge a right angle without tools. But it's not just your body that has changed. You've risen in the hierarchy, now a full foreman of a faili, responsible for 20 men. The badge of office, a copper arm ring bearing the cartouche kufu gleams on your bicep. You wear it with pride that would seem strange to your village self. The pyramid has risen to magnificent height over 300 feet now, Moritan 2/3 complete. The engineering challenges have evolved with the height. The ramps have been rebuilt multiple times, now spiraling around the pyramid itself, in a design that future scholars will debate endlessly. You've become a teacher, passing on the knowledge Amenhotep and others gave you. Young workers arrive regularly, their eyes wide with the same awe you once felt. You remember Amenhotep's patience and try to emulate it. The stone is your partner, not your enemy. You tell a young mason named Senusret, guiding his hands on the chisel. Feel its rhythm. Every stone has one. Find it, and the work becomes a dance. You've mastered techniques you couldn't have imagined. The art of splitting granite with fire, and water heating the stone with torches, then shocking it with cold water to create controlled fractures. The mathematics of the sacred proportions, understanding why certain angles and ratios create stability and beauty. The logistics of moving stones that seem impossible to move, knowing exactly how many men, how much water, what angle of ramp. Your family has visited twice, making the journey during festival times. Your mother wept when she saw you, tears of joy and pride. Your father, ever reserved, simply nodded, but his eyes spoke volumes. Nabat, now a young woman, brought news of marriages and births, the village life continuing in your absence. You look like a lord, she said, touching the copper ring on your arm. The whole village speaks of you. Meni who builds the eternal dwelling. You've sent money home regularly. Your wages are indeed generous. Your family has purchased additional land, built a larger house. When you return, you'll be a man of substance. but increasingly, you wonder if you'll want to return. The pyramid has become your life, your purpose. The workers' village has evolved to what started as temporary housing has become a permanent town. Gardens have been planted. A school has been established for the children of workers who brought families. There's even a small temple where you can make offerings to the gods. You've made friendships that transcend the work. Thutmose is now married to a baker's daughter from the village. Their son, barely walking, is named Kufua, common choice among the workers' children. Sembi leads his own Phili now, his booming laugh still echoing across the plateau. Yonipuki has become a master mathematician, calculating loads and angles with mystical precision. But it's the pyramid itself that dominates everything. It's no longer just a construction project, but a living thing, growing daily, reaching ever. You know every course. Remember placing specific stones, can point to exact spots and say, I built that. The king's chamber is complete now, a masterpiece of engineering. The granite beams of the ceiling, each weighing dozens of tons, fit so perfectly that they seem to be a single piece of stone. The sarcophagus is already in plessolid granite, polished to mere brightness, waiting for its eternal occupant. It's engineering that won't be understood again for millennia. In those chambers, workers have left their marks not officially sanctioned, but traditional, simple hieroglyphs stating, the friends of Khufu were here, or Meni of Deir el-Medina built this. These marks won't be seen again until explorers breach the pyramid in the distant future, but they're important to you. They're proof, written in stone, that individuals built this monument. Not faceless slaves, but men with names and homes and pride. 7 years, the pyramid nears completion, its peak reaching over 450 feet into the sky. You stand on the working platform near the summit, and the view steals your breath even now. The entire world spreads below you, the green ribbon of the Nile Valley, the endless golden desert, the distant mountains. You can see the curvature of the earth itself. The work here is different. The stones are smaller by necessity. They must be carried up by hand now, the ramps unable to reach these heights efficiently. But the precision required is even greater. These final courses will determine the pyramid's perfect point, the apex that will bear the golden pyramid. You've been selected for the honor of working on these final stages. Of the thousands who began this project, only a few dozen are trusted with this ultimate task. Your hands, scarred and powerful, carefully position each stone. Some are small enough for 2 men to carry, but each must be placed with the same precision as the massive foundation blocks. The mathematics here are precise beyond belief. Ipuki, now the chief mathematician for the upper works, calculates angles that must be accurate to fractions of a degree. The 4 faces of the pyramid must meet at a perfect point. Any error, even minute, will be magnified at the peak. We're not just building, Ipuki says one evening, as you share beer on the platform, watching the sunset. We're proving that humans can achieve perfection, that with will and knowledge and faith, we can create something divine. The working conditions at this height are treacherous. The wind, barely noticeable at ground level, becomes a constant force up here. One strong gust can send a man tumbling to his death. Safety ropes are mandatory now, something that would have seemed cowardly in the early years but is recognized as necessary wisdom. You've lost more friends over the years. Sembi fell 2 years ago, a rope that seemed sound snapping under his weight. His body was recovered, mummified, buried with full honors. His widow and children receive a pension from the Workers' Fund. His name is carved on a stela in the Workers' Cemetery. But for everyone who has fallen, dozens have risen. Young workers have become master craftsmen. Boys have become men. The pyramid has been a forge, transforming not just stone, but human lives. The day arrives with the fanfare it deserves. The Pyramidianta Capstone has been completed. It's a perfect pyramid itself, carved from a single block of granite and covered in an alloy of gold and silver that blazes like captured sunlight. The entire workforce has gathered. Even those injured, those retired from active work, have come to witness this moment. Kenti is there on his crutch, his eyes bright with pride. Thutmose stands with his family, his son on his shoulders. Your own family has made the journey for this historic moment. Your father, gray now, but still strong. Your mother, Nebat with her new husband. The pharaoh himself is present, Khufu, the living god for whom this monument has risen. He's older than you expected, his face marked by years of rule, but his bearing remains divine. He stands on a specially constructed platform, surrounded by priests and nobles, but his eyes are on the pyramid, his eternal dwelling. The pyramidion sits on a wooden platform at the base of the pyramid. It'll be raised by a combination of ramps, levers, and human will. You're part of the elite team that will accomplish this final feat. Hamunu addresses the assembled thousands. 7 years ago, we began with a dream and a flat plateau. Today, we complete the greatest structure ever built by human hands. This is not my achievement, not even the pharaohs alone. This is Egypt's achievement. Every man who lifted a stone, every woman who baked bread for the workers, every child born in the workers' village all are part of this eternal monument. The raising begins. The pyramidion, despite being the smallest stone relative to the others, still weighs over 2 tons. But it's not the weight that makes this challenging. It's the precision required and the symbolic importance. This cannot fail. You're on one of the guide ropes, helping control the stone ascent asset raised by a specially constructed crane at the pyramid's peak. The rope burns your palms, despite the years of calluses. Sweat stings your eyes, but you don't falter. Inchy be inch. The pyramidion rises. The crowd below has fallen silent. The only sounds are the creaking of wood, the commands of the foreman, and the wind that threatens to turn the suspended stone into a deadly pendulum. Hours pass. The sun reaches its zenith, and the electrum covering blazes so brightly it hurts to look upon. It seems like a piece of the sun itself is ascending to its rightful place. Finally, after what feels like a lifetime, the pyramidion reaches the apex. Now comes the most delicate part, lowering it onto the perfectly prepared platform at the peak. You and 3 other master masons guideth, with bronze bars making microscopic adjustments. Left, the width of a hair, Yuki. Kaluk, forward, just a breath. And then, with a grinding sound that seems to come from the earth itself, the pyramidion settles into place. Perfect. The pyramid is complete. The cheer that erupts can probably be heard in Memphis. Thousands of voices raised in triumph. 7 years of labor, of sacrifice, of dreams made stone, culminated in this moment. The pharaoh raises his arms, and silence falls. Let it be known throughout the 2 lands and for all eternity. His voice carries across the plateau that Egypt has built the eternal dwelling, that free Egyptians, working with willing hands and faithful hearts, have created what will stand until the end of time itself. Each of you has achieved immortality. When the world forgets the names of kings, this pyramid will stand, and your work will speak for you. That night, Giza transforms into the greatest celebration Egypt has ever seen. The pharaoh has declared a feast for all workers. Cattle are slaughtered by the hundreds. Beer flows like the Nile flood. Music fills the air, drums, flutes, sistrums, creating a rhythm that seems to make the pyramid itself pulse with life. You sit with your phili, your family, your friends of 7 years. The boundaries between nobility and workers blurred in the shared euphoria. You see Hamunu, himself, dancing with a group of masons, his usual dignity, abandon and joy. Your father sits beside you, his eyes fixed on the completed pyramid, now glowing in the light of 1,000 torches. I was wrong to doubt, he says quietly. I thought I was losing a son to a pharaoh's vanity. Instead, you've become part of something eternal. I'm proud of you, my son. Stories are shared, memories of the years of construction. The Taima sandstorm nearly buried the entire workers' village. The day a block slipped and miraculously hurt no one, seen as a sign of divine protection. The birth of the first baby in the workers' village, named Kufa-Tep Kufu, is satisfied. Thutmose raises his beer jar. To those who fell, he shouts, and thousands echo the toast. To Omen, to Senbi, to all who gave their lives for eternity. To those who fell, the response thunders across the plateau. An old worker stands, his voice carrying surprising strength. I want the world to know, he declares. Let any man who says slaves built this pyramid come here and say it to our faces. We are free Egyptians. We chose this work. We bled for it, died for it, triumphed in it. We are the pyramid builders, and our names are written in stone. The celebration continues until dawn, when the first rays of sun strike the golden pyramidion, making it blaze like a beacon visible for miles. Even exhausted, even drunk on beer and triumph, the workers pause to watch this sight. The pyramid catches the light and seems to channel it to heaven, a bridge between earth and sky, exactly as intended. Home for 7 years, packing your possessions, your tools, worn but still functional, wrapped in leather. The copper arm ring that marks you as a foreman, which you're entitled to keep. A papyrus scroll, signed by Himuno himself, testifying to your service and skill. This document will open doors for the rest of your life. But there's also what you can't pack: the knowledge, the experience, the transformation from village mason to master builder. You know secrets of engineering that will make kings of lesser men. You are packing in the dormitory room that has been your home for 7 years, preparing for the journey south. Your personal tools, worn but still functional, are wrapped carefully in leather. They feel like old friends. The kopparam ring that marks you as a foreman, a symbol of your journey from apprentice to leader, you are entitled to keep. And there is a papyrus scroll, sealed with the insignia of Hemuno himself, testifying to your years of skilled service. This document will open doors for the rest of your life. But there is so much you cannot pack: the camaraderie forged in shared labor, the memory of the sun rising over the growing monument, the quiet pride of a perfectly set stone. You are leaving a part of your your life force, here in this place. Thutmose enters a room, his own bag already packed. His son is with him, a small boy who looks at you with wide eyes. So, you return to the south? Thutmose, Azix's voice thick with emotion. For now, you reply, my family awaits. They won't recognize the boy who left, he says, clapping you on the shoulder. You leave a foreman, a master builder, a legend. You say your farewells to Maruka, to Kenti, to the hundreds of men who have become your brothers. The departure is the reverse of your arrival. No grand welcome, but a quiet, respectful procession to the harbor. A journey marked by handshakes and promises to remember. As your boat pushes off into the current of the Nile, you look back one last time. The pyramid stands complete, its golden capstone catching the morning light, a beacon of impossible achievement. It is no longer a construction site. It is a god on the horizon,